This session will cover concepts. I am using static images from the actual live site for this review. If you have any questions, please contact Janice at janice@drflowersprep.com. The topics or subjects to be covered are what is a concept, how to get to the concepts, the concept structure, and concept resources. What is a concept? This involves understanding the knowledge structure of our site, which is different than if you just open a textbook, for example. We begin with what's called a section. This generally relates to the subtest. For example, psychological and social sciences subtest. That's not the exact name, but I just shortened it here. So that would be a section. A subject would be those traditional subjects found under that subtest. In this case, it could be psychology or sociology. A topic is then a division within the subject itself. For example, perception with input and output as a topic. Within the topic, you have the module. The example of the module would be sensory perception from environment to brain. And finally, the concept is found within each module. An example in this situation could be perception overview. The concept is like the atom in chemistry or the cell in physics. It's the lowest division of function. This is where you find the knowledge, where you find the information. This structure allows a database to be created which can house all knowledge. And it allows us to manipulate it and use it to assess you better in terms of your preparation for this test. So how do we get to these concepts? From any screen on your computer, you can get to this concept area. The first step is look for advanced in the top menu on the right. Just click advanced, or it's actually a resource. You click that, and then this box will open up. At the top there, you see those 5 pencils. That's what opened up when I clicked advanced. The second step then is to click library. This is where the information is stored. You click that and this screen will open up. The final step here then is to start clicking down on that list you see to the middle left of the screen with the small open triangles by it. You click those and then you click down to the information you want to get to, which is the concept. So if we start clicking on psychological and social sciences, for example, we will click open bars or open triangles, and they will turn dark until we get down to the information we want at the level of the concept. What we've done here is gone through the section, which is psychological and social sciences, which is a subtest on the MCAT, to psychology, which is not a subtest, but is part of the section of psychological, social, and actually biological sciences of behavior. So this would be a subject level. The next level down will be a topic level. In this case, perception, input, and output. Other topics under psychology include behavior. If you look down on the same line, you'll see behavior, psychological disorders. Those are other topics under psychology. The next level is the module. This would be sensory perception from environment to brain. Other modules within that topic of perception and input and output includes reception and initial processes of sensory inputs, if you look straight down, internal processing and outputs, and responses to sensory inputs responding to the world. Those will be other modules under the topic of perception, input, and output. Then finally, under the module, you will find the concept. You see, there's no triangle by the concept. So at this point, to get to that knowledge found in that concept, you just click it. Note that the levels you have opened, the triangles have turned dark, turned black, basically. So let's, when eventually we'll click down to the perception overview to see an actual concept. But this is how you would get to it. And that will be true of all the other subjects, sections, etc. as well that's available on this test. Let's go on to the concept structure, a general description. This is where, again, the concept is where the knowledge is found. Each concept is structured the same on our system. There are 7 components. Nearly all the time, all 7 components will be populated. But the one often not populated or may not be populated is advanced concepts, because advanced concepts are not required for the test. So the 7 components are the instructional objectives, introduction, concept discussion, key takeaways, advanced concepts, internet-related images and internet-related content, and maximize learning elaboration. These are found in each of the concepts, which number into the hundreds on our system. The reason for this structure is this tries to replicate some of the best known means of learning effectively. That's the purpose of this fairly complicated structure. Let's look at our example in a little more detail. We had talked about perception overview as a concept we're going to click. So let's do that, and let's look at the first component called instructional objectives and introduction. So instructional objectives first. The instructional objectives is the first thing you will see, and this will list the main learning points. There will be rarely more than 7. Usually it's 7 or less. Sometimes just 2 or 3 or 4, but it hardly ever will be more than 7. This is the minimal information you should know. Now, it doesn't tell you what that information is in terms of its content. It's telling you what you should be knowing. For example, you should be able to list the main senses found in humans. You should know the steps in perception going from the sensory receptor to the brain. You should be able to describe those and know those. This structure, these, in this case, 7 instructional objectives, set the structure of the rest of this concept. This sequence, a listing, will be repeated in the other sections or subsections, etc. So you will see this again. For example, list of main senses. If you look down under concepts there, it showed you the main senses in human. It's a 1-to-1. So if you got 7 points in your instructional objectives, you will find 7 areas of discussion in your concept, in your introduction, in your key objectives later. Another one, steps in perception from senses to brain, that's point 2. Same sequence. The purpose of this is repetition, is hitting you with the same information over and over in a little bit different ways. So your brain sees it from a different perspective. This is how you can learn more effectively. That's why it's set up this way. Let's look at the introduction. Same thing here. The introduction is going to be a recapitulation of what the instructional objectives told you to know. For example, the first instructional objective said, list the main senses of human. You go down to, on the introduction, look at the first sentence. It says the main senses in humans are vision, hearing, taste, etc. It gives you the answer. So before you get into the whole concept, which may be long in certain instances, we are giving you the essence of what you should be knowing. So this is the minimum. This is not all you should know, but if you don't know this, the minimum, you're going to be in trouble. Okay? So this is going to be your preview later to what's going to follow in the discussion. As we went from instructional objectives to introduction, this is setting you up for the detail you will be getting during the concept discussion. And again, the number of distinct points will parallel each other. Okay. Let's go on to this concept discussion now. Now, if you remember here, the details, as I said, this is your cell. This is your atom. This is where you got to have your function at. You put it all together later, but it's got to be in these small units, and this is your small unit. Okay. You have basic discussion dictated by the AAMC. but there is adequate detail for you. Each discussion point relates back to those instructional objectives. If you can remember back or look back later, this is the same sequence that's presented here. The main senses in humans, the steps in perception, the difference between senses and perception, Weber's law. All of that is what was asked you to know in the instructional objective. So now you're going to get more detail about that. But it's totally consistent, reinforcing and consistently throughout the concept. This is just showing you the remainder of those components. The next big section are the key takeaways. This is a final review of the instructional objectives. It's going to be the minimum you should know. In most concepts, this will be the same number. Occasionally it's not, but virtually 95+% of them, it's the same number as in the instructional objectives. You certainly should know more than this, but if you don't know this and can't repeat this, you're going to have some difficulties. And you should understand what you're repeating. So here's the same 7 items as you saw in the instructional objectives. Repetition, repetition, a little bit different approach, and a little bit different way. Okay? The advanced concepts, as I said, is going to be information that is beyond the test, but you may want to use and review it. So that is totally up to you if you want to do that. Let's skip down to the internet. There's just so much information on the internet. Some bad, some good. But if you can find the good information, it's going to be a tremendous advantage. So what I've done here, instead of me doing a video, I can do a video like this or even live or whatever, but there's so much out there. And the other aspect of it, you need to hear and see it from different viewpoints. I've already presented you my viewpoint. If I do a video, I'm just going to be representing my viewpoint, maybe a little bit different, and that may have some value. But what we're going to do here is look at how different people who really understand the information, if you find a good video, which I've done for you, these are the best that I could find, you will see it from a different viewpoint. So mainly these are going to be YouTube videos that are academic. It's not academic. It's not this junk on the YouTube or looking at cats or dogs or whatever. This is academic stuff. And there's nothing wrong with cats or dogs, y'all, so don't send me anything. They're fine. They're fine, okay? But this is to get you into medical school, okay? It gives you an important the importance is to experience different approaches to these concepts, and this is what these do. So I advise you to really look through different ones. Find the one that works best for you, because everybody has something that really works best for them. So there's multiple different videos. There's redundancy in here about the same concept. Okay. Elaboration, the final component. What is elaboration? Elaboration is an absolutely critical component of learning as found in learning theory. The essence of this is that it's connecting information new or outside your head to information that's already inside your head. That process is which allows you to encode the information better and to retrieve it better. It firms up those synaptic pathways. See, your memory and what is in your brain is not a grandmother neuron. This is a concept in neuroscience. There's no such thing as a grandmother neuron. There's no one neuron that is your grandmother's face. What your grandmother's face is a network of neuron and synapses. Those networks only become established by various means such as repetition, such as looking at these different videos, such as going through a concept like I have in a little bit different ways, hitting you from a different point and repeating it. That's how you get it firmed up, and that's how you encode your information. I hear all the time about students saying, well, I studied so hard, but I did so poorly. What you did, you studied hard, but you encoded poorly. And when you encode poorly, you're going to retrieve poorly. So what I've tried to set up here is to maximize your encoding, to maximize your retrieval, because it's not going to help you on the test when something requires a recall of a certain concept that you can't do it there and 4 hours later you recall it. It's not going to do you one bit of good. So if you want to retrieve it well, you got to encode it well. Elaboration and the way this is structured will allow you to do that, but you have to use it. You have to do it. You have to do it. Okay? So this is just one prompt again for you to connect. You want to connect what's inside that brain of yours with what's outside that brain of yours. It's a bidirectional process. Make it make sense. Get it encoded correctly so you can retrieve it correctly so you're not crying after the test, but I studied so hard. Okay. Let's look at then the general the resources. That's what I want to do. Let's go over that to general resources. There's a lot of resources on here. These concepts, it's not just that information, although that is very valuable and it's very well done, but there's more than that here for you because this is that part of connections. We got to make connections. We got to firm up those pathways, those networks, those synapses, etc. Got to get that long-term potentiation working here for us. And that's disgusting if you don't know what that is. So all this at the top here is basically your other resources that can enhance your learning of these concepts. At the top left up there is that hierarchy. You can click back. If you got something here and you think, well, I forgot I did that before, but I want to go back, this is a way to click it back. That's the left part. On the right over here are the concepts within this module. So you can go back and forth. Since this is the first concept, there's only a following concept. If this was a middle concept, you'll have one before and one after. But it allows you a quick way to go back and forth without getting out of the system, etc., etc. Very nice and convenient. This is your mark is done and mark for review. In a different session on navigation, I explained the importance of that. This is where you click it. You will be able to access this information from your study plan if you click it here. The other thing here is I give you a priority. I'm going to do a little Pavlov on you right at the beginning here and say and let you know, hey, this is important. So when you see must know, you must study it. Okay? You must learn it. So, and it's sort of a reminder, this is more important than a low. You know, there's going to be some that may say low or even high. This is a must know. So this one, you better be on your toes, get your coffee, get rid of the music, tell your boy or girlfriend to leave you alone and study it because it's important. Okay? Then this is important feedback. Part of motivation is feedback and useful feedback when you can use it. So in this section, this is telling you that you did 4 questions and got 75% correct, which is not bad. But if you want the highest scores, you're going to be looking at 80 to 90% correct. So this is feedback to tell you, hey, there's a little more work I need to do here. So it's quick feedback. You see how you do as you go right along. You ain't got to go anyplace else to find it. There's also related concepts, related flashcards, related tests, feedback you can provide. You can add your study note, and you can look up the glossary. Now, I'm going to go through these. I'm not going to click those again. I'm just going to go through them in a sequence except the glossary. That's going to be a little out of sequence. So let's look at related concepts here. These are other concepts that are important or related to this concept. So if you really want to learn this concept better and in context, these are other concepts that you may want to know. And notice the one that the priority here is highest for central nervous system. So if you really want to get a good feeling of this concept, you definitely want to understand central nervous system. And the way this is set up, it will allow you just to click it to get to the central nervous system. So you will have that capacity just by clicking related concepts and the ability to go directly to those concepts. Okay. The next thing is the glossary, which was at the bottom right, which is the ABC icon. So here, if you type in sensory, those subjects will, well, the definitions of glossary will come up. You can also do a priority determination or subject determination, such as psychology or sociology. But anyway, you will get a list that comes up related to it down here. And if you wanted to look up sensory adaptation, there's a quick definition there about what sensory adaptation is. Okay. The flashcards. There's automatic electronic flashcards. In this case, this is showing you that for perception overview, there are 25 flashcards. This is one of them. So the question is define feature detection theories. You click on answer over here. The answer will come up about what it means. And it's in some detail. This is not your typical glossary. This is not a one-liner glossary. I put some meat in here to give you more information and details. On some of these are almost like a review themselves. Okay? But you decide what part of it that you want to know. So that's the flashcard. And then you can go to the next flashcard by that little greater than sign down there at the bottom. The next one was related test. You click related test, and this is really important. This is while you're in the concept. You can bring up questions to review independently of going any place else. You can do it right there. You click related test, and this will show you tests and questions not only from that concept, but from the whole hierarchy. This is the reason we chose a hierarchy, where we chose a database. So you're in perception review, which is a concept at the bottom of the quote hierarchy. But you can look at questions there. There are 46 questions. You can look at module, 124 questions. You can look at the topic, 170 questions, or the whole subject of psychology. And these will be increasing. These number of questions will be increasing here. But you can pick any ones you want. And at the bottom now you see 4 skills, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the type of questions that will be on the MCAT. So if you learn that, hey, I have trouble with scientific reasoning and problem solving, well, these questions here are only, the skills 1, 2, 3, 4 are only for that concept. So you can see there's 46 questions in perception for that one concept. Okay? So then you can go down there and say, okay, well, let me test my scientific reasoning and problem solving skills. So if you click that, you will go to a test to help you, to review scientific reasoning and problem solving for perception overview. You can click how you want the solution to show up at the end of the practice or after each question. You click start. You will then go to the question. For example, a person is in a large ballroom at an important business meeting. There are over 200 individuals in the room in small groups in conversation. The person is actively engaged in conversation with 2 other individuals and is intently listening to one of them speak. Suddenly, he looks over at a group 50 feet away because he thought he heard his name mentioned in the other group's conversation. So A, B, C, D. What's going on here? Well, you can answer your question. That's not the answer, by the way. You just click the box. You can say if you guessed or not, and you can quit practice. Now, I didn't do this, so there's no analysis. But if I'd have answered all 5 questions, I'd have had an analysis. I'd have had my score, my guess accuracy. I could have looked at the different questions. I would have seen the different skills involved, etc. And then this is stored in the system. It's put back to the different places that relates to these questions. Automatic. So, all right. Provide feedback. This is mainly the tech report. If there's some issue or question, you can go there. There's another place you go if you have a question on content, which I'll show you later. It will actually a different session. And then you send it. You can also add the study note. You click add the study note. This is the little pop-up box you'll see. You click add, and this is a note for you. This can become part of your elaboration, part of your learning, part of you encoding better, part of you getting your retrieval set up better, or something else you want to add, something that you think I should have done but I didn't do. put it in there. It's going to be stored so you can go back to it anytime you want in your initial study plan screen, which I talk about in a different session. Okay. Okay, that is the end of the concept review. It may be worthwhile looking at this one again. We'll see you next time.